Treasure Cove Books, in association with the Horror Diaries, presents Haunted, an anthology of ghostly encounters. Narrated by Terry Whitmer, written by Heather Beck. Copyright 2014. This audiobook is a work of fiction. Names, places, events, and characters are fictitious in every regard. Any similarities to actual events or persons, living or dead, are purely coincidental. All rights reserved. Except for review purposes, the reproduction of this audiobook in whole or part constitutes a copyright violation. Ghost Park. 15-year-old Chase McMillan looked expectantly at her father from across the dining room table. She'd been doing so since his arrival and subsequent announcement that he'd just received some good news. Chase's dinner, which consisted of meatloaf and broccoli, was getting cold as she watched Mr. McMillan eat his own meal in a hurry. "Eat your dinner, Miss McMillan," scolded Chase. Although her own plate had hardly been touched, she was also anxious to hear the good news. The McMillan family was in dire need of good tidings. Mrs. McMillan had recently lost her job at the office due to downsizing. Mr. McMillan was an arborist, and since their town was already concrete-laden, work wasn't a regular occurrence. It seemed as if money was always tight around the house. Chase bit off the head of the broccoli and chewed quickly. "So, what's the story?" she asked after swallowing. "I've been contracted for a major project," Mr. McMillan said happily. Chase had to suppress a sigh. Although Mrs. McMillan may have wanted Mr. McMillan to get a new contract, Chase wanted him to get a new job. Chase loved nature and hated to think her father was helping to destroy it. "That's wonderful," Mrs. McMillan said, getting up from her chair to give her husband a hug. "I'm so proud of you." "That's great, Dad," Chase said with less enthusiasm. "Tell us more," Mrs. McMillan said, before Chase could make an unpleasant comment about Mr. McMillan's job. "Well," Mr. McMillan began with a big smile, "I've been hired by the municipal government to help clear-cut the Deer Hill landscape. They're going to use it for commercial zoning." "The Deer Hill landscape!" Chase cried, interrupting her father. "You can't destroy that forest." She could feel her heart pounding angrily. She knew clear-cutting meant completely destroying all the trees, shrubs, and anything else which was in the way. "It hasn't been maintained for over 100 years, Mr. McMillan argued. "Many animals call that landscape home. Where will they go?" Mr. McMillan shook his head at Chase, as if to say she didn't understand anything. "That place isn't safe. Don't you remember what happened to little Jenny from down the road? She was lost in the Deer Hill landscape for 2 days. "It really is a hazard," Miss McMillan agreed. "Too many people dump trash there. It smells awful, and the odor carries all the way to West Avenue." "But the animals! You're not seriously going to take this job, are you?" "I'm sorry, Chase, but I've already signed the contract." "I'm sure you can change your mind and get out of it," Chase said weakly, realizing she was fighting a losing battle. "I don't want to get out of it," Mr. McMillan replied. "This job means a steady income for 2 months. I can't afford to turn it down." "Whatever," Chase muttered, returning to her cold dinner. For some reason, she was no longer hungry. Chase was watching television later that night when she heard the telephone ring. She hurried to answer it, but her father had already picked it up in the kitchen. "Hello, Mr. Daniels, how are you?" Chase heard her father say to the person on the phone. "I've had better days," Mr. Daniels replied. "What's wrong?" Mr. McMillan said anxiously. "Is there a problem with the Deer Hill landscape?" "Not exactly," Mr. Daniel replied. Family Value Superstore has insisted on making the grand opening of their store 2 weeks earlier. This means we have to start clear-cutting right away. Chase felt anger return to her heart. She couldn't believe the landscape was being uprooted so that Family Value Superstore, a nationwide department store, could expand their business. Since the corporation had more money than their small town, Chase knew the municipal government would do almost anything to keep Family Value Superstore happy. "I'm always available," Mr. McMillan replied. "I could start work tomorrow." "Well, I'm glad to hear that," Mr. Daniels replied, "because we'll need you and your harvester ready to start work this Monday." Chase had to
Sample complete. Ready to continue?